Now, what is a kernel? It's the smallest unit of a scientifically proven behavioral influence. It's an active ingredient of most evidence-based programs. So, for example, verbal praise is an evidence-based kernel, and verbal praise is in every single evidence-based parenting program that's on any of the lists to work. Now, they also are indivisible. You can't take away one part of these things and have them work. They produce easy to measure quick changes in behavior. I mean, if your classroom is more peaceful and less disruptive, you can see that right away. And these can be used alone or combined with other things for benefit in your classroom, at home, or in the community. There are 4 types of these things. There's an antecedent kernel that happens before. There are reinforcement kernels. Those are positive things that happen later, after. There are physiological kernels that alter the way we sense, feel, and operate as a human being, which then influences our behavior. And then there are relational frame kernels. These are language interventions. Humans are the only organism on this planet that can use language to change our behavior. So for example, when we say stop or signal stop with the word, we know that means something. Kernels can be used for prevention. They can also be used for intervention and treatment. So for example, one of them, which is called the prize bowl, has been studied extensively by the National Institutes on Drug Abuse, and it is, they consider to be the most significant, powerful intervention for reducing serious addictions like cocaine, addictions to opiates, and even if you're on treatment with methadone, reducing methamphetamine, reducing polydrug use, and reducing alcohol and marijuana use. In this particular intervention, folks get to draw little tiny prizes, which may be just good jobs or attaboys or attagirls, or they may be simple reinforcers like access to a candy bar, $1 prize, and sometimes they win bigger prizes. We are providing all of the instructions on how to implement this particular thing, but I do want you to know that these kernels have powerful utility in intervention and treatment. And please check out the resources on kernels for such issues and concerns. Now let's turn to a couple of kernels that might be relevant, for example, for prevention issues. I'm sure many of you have seen a complete blowout between a parent and a child in a classroom, in a grocery store. Part of my dissertation research and part of some of the other work that we've been involved with involves something called the Good Shopper, where children receive a sticker for each aisle that they are a good shopper, meaning that they stayed in the cart, touched the cart, asked for things only once, only gotten things with permission from mom or dad, haven't thrown a fit, etc. Now we've actually, and other people have experimented with a good shopper to give that out as a free advice kit right there in the grocery store or the discount store, and you can actually measure significant changes in the parent-child interaction, not only in the grocery store or the discount store, much to your relief if you're another customer or if you own the store, because nobody wants to go down an aisle where a child and a parent are having a complete mutual meltdown. But that Good Shopper thing has as good as results in randomized control group studies as going to a parenting course. Now, why is it that we cannot make available that simple intervention through every grocery store in America? All it involves is basically a simple card for keeping track of those how well the child is doing in each aisle, and modeling a little bit of this on television and a simple handout. So what would happen if we made the Good Shopper available to lots and lots of families? We've actually done a study where we made it available in grocery stores or some, other interventions like the Good Shopper, and we found that 50% of the people in the community, or even in a country study that in a national intervention that we did, availed themselves of this evidence-based kernel for prevention. Imagine that we did that all across America. Now, this is not the only kernel that we could talk about today. Let's visit a different kind of a kernel, a physiological kernel that can be used both in prevention, treatment, and intervention, and that is called omega-3 fatty acid, or fish oil. Probably all of you who are as old as me, I'm 60 years of age, you might remember your grandmother telling you, you need to take your cod liver oil. It tasted awful in that teaspoon, but fortunately they now come in gel caps, so it's not quite so vile tasting. But your grandmother was right. Your grandmother was really smart about that. Now let me give you an example how important omega-3 fatty acid could be for reducing and preventing problems in America. For instance, some of you might be working with violent male offenders, either as adolescents or young adults. In the United Kingdom, there was a study with violent male offenders between 18 and 26, and this study was funded by the National Institutes on Alcohol and Alcohol Abuse of the United States government and Her Majesty's Ministry of Prisons in the United Kingdom. And prisoners were randomly assigned. They got omega-3 fatty acid or a placebo. That's a fake pill. And what you see is a 37% reduction in violent felony offenses for the people who got that omega-3 fatty acid every day. Now imagine that our prisoners here in America, as we are releasing all of these people back into community because we don't have enough beds or resources to take care of them, got that simple intervention, that could significantly increase public safety and health. We also have similar data showing that when this is given to people who are at risk for bipolar disorder or who have bipolar disorder, even if they're on their regular meds, this reduces their relapse by 50%. And that's a powerful thing, and we're now able to show in scientific studies that the provision of omega-3 fatty acid during pregnancy reduces learning disabilities and behavioral difficulties well into the 8th year of life and possibly as long as when the child enters adolescence. Now let me give you a different example, what's called a relational frame kernel intervention to show you the power of universal access. I'm pretty sure that no one watching this wants your child or your child's friends to be drunk, high, or in trouble with the law. Well, what happens when parents simply declare that I don't want my child and I don't want my child's friends to be drunk or in trouble with the law? In Sweden, they have completed recently a study of that simple act of making that a community-wide promise, a way of phrasing things to each other, to every parent, and that turned out to have a very significant reduction on drunkenness among 8th graders and 9th graders, and a 24% reduction in overall juvenile crime in those communities. Now, isn't that something that all of us could do? Don't you remember perhaps a time when we used to talk to each other about our children? Well, today we don't. And this is a way of showing how some grandmotherly wisdom can be used to improve the safety of our young people at a very, almost ridiculously inexpensive cost. I have an idea for growing big change in America that I'd like to enlist you in. We've been thinking and talking with people just like you about, isn't it possible that we could demonstrate a big change for the benefit of every child in America? I believe that's possible. And recently I got to propose this idea of what I would call a great experiment, my colleagues and I. And the aims would be to reduce alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use rapidly using existing data that we're already collecting to measure that. Reduce crime and delinquency. Reduce health care, physical and mental health care costs quickly, again monitoring our archival data that we have, and improve various educational outcomes, again monitoring all of the data that we're already collecting. We would be randomizing counties within states to be first starters and delayed starters on these strategies. We would launch multiple proven tested ones of these kernels and strategies like the good behavior game and triple P, so that people would have universal access, be they parents, be they teachers. We would promote things like the recovery, the prize bowl, or omega-3 fatty acid that could also be used for people who are trying to effect treatment or intervention.